At one time or another, I'm sure most of us have been given a prescription from a doctor. But what if your next one wasn't for a pill or drug, but was instead a social prescription? That topic is explored in this new book by Julia Hotz, The Connection Cure, The Prescriptive Power of Movement, Nature, Art, Service, and Belonging. And Julia joins me now to explain. First of all, congrats on the book.
Thanks, Kelly. It's so great to be here.
So great to have you. So I have never heard of social prescribing before having you on the show. So what are the 5 main categories?
Sure. Well, first of all, a social prescription is really any non-medical resource or activity that improves your health and strengthens your connections. So it can be an art class, it could be bicycling lessons. And the idea here is we're flipping the script from focusing just on what's the matter with a person to what matters to them. And it's literally your doctor prescribing it, just like they would with pills or therapies, not in replacement of. And on that note, Kelly, I actually brought you a little model social prescription here. I know you love your nature walks. I know you obviously love people. So typically social prescriptions involve those things. They involve movement, nature, art, service, and belonging.
I really love that you brought this. That is amazing. What is the evidence too that something like this actually does improve your health?
Right. So I'm sure many of us, when we take a walk in nature or we see a concert that's really compelling, we feel really good after. Well, it turns out there's a ton of scientific data to support that. We know that when we, for example, engage with nature or when we create some kind of art, we lower our cortisol production, which is the stress hormone, which is linked to so many kinds of health ailments.
I'm hearing about this all the time for sleep, everything.
Right. Likewise, when we volunteer or when we feel a sense of belonging with other people, we know that this literally improves our longevity. We live longer when we feel connected. And so social prescribing is really about taking these things that science suggests is good for us on its own and packaging it in the form of, say, a 10-week art class or, swimming lessons.
Yeah, and so you've mentioned some of those where people have found relief from social prescriptions. So can you share some other examples than just going for a walk and other things in art classes? What else do you mean by this?
Absolutely. So actually one of my favorite stories that I think really combines all these from the book is this woman named Amanda, who, Amanda is this lovely woman who'd been dealt a really tough hand all at the same time. She got divorced, her mother passed away, she lost her job. This was all in the background of the lockdown itself. So she was extremely disconnected, extremely depressed. And Amanda eventually, after, going through medication and therapy, also gets a social prescription to join this cold water sea swimming group. Now this, Kelly, is not, a day at the beach. This is cold water, 365 days a year with women like her who are kind of just learning how to swim again.
Oh.
And in that time, what happens to Amanda? She's enjoying the beautiful blue and green naturescapes. She's moving her body. She's connecting with the other swimmers, so much so that they're hanging out even outside of the swim course. And over time, she's able to make this a habit. She has a friend group, and she's able to lower her dose of antidepressant. She feels, to quote her, like her life became bright again.
Oh, I love that quote. And does social prescribing actually exist then in the US?
It does. So this movement really started in the UK and it spread actually to 30 countries around the world, including some parts of the US. There's an incredible organization called Social Prescribing USA that's trying to make this mainstream, but you can look and see how most doctors are increasingly, for example, prescribing parks visits and transportation to get there. Where I'm originally from in New Jersey, some insurers are even covering the cost of glass blowing workshop, for example, art classes. Yeah, that's right. And it's all based on this idea, Kelly, that if we improve our health in the long term, this also reduces pressure and costs for healthcare. People are less likely to have to go to the emergency room. They're less likely to rely on their doctors. Over time can really make a difference in cost.
It makes perfect sense. And what can somebody do to find a social prescription on their own?
Right.
Can you call and say, I'm looking for a social prescription?
It's pretty corny, but I always say, ask your doctor if social prescribing is right for you. More and more of them are hearing about it. But it is true that here in the United States, it's not fully mainstream yet. So what I advise is for folks to go to www.socialprescribing.co. There is a directory there of free or donation-based activities involving movement, nature, art, service, and belonging. And to arrive at that, I encourage people to really ask questions like, if you had 2 more hours in your week, what would you spend it doing? What's something you loved to do as a kid but haven't had a chance to do since? Those kind of questions can help us all really arrive at what matters to us.
Oh, wow. I want to ask that question right now to myself. If someone's skeptical about this concept, what would you say to them?
I would say a lot of things. I want to clarify, first of all, this is not in replacement of other kinds of therapy. This is, a chance to put another option on the menu.
In addition to.
I also want to say, like I thought, why do I need a doctor to do this if I can just prescribe myself? But there is a big difference, Kelly, than just saying, you seem a bit stressed, you should go for a walk, versus I'm going to prescribe you a 10-week Zumba class that meets on Tuesday nights after you get out of work, and I'm going to follow up with you and check in on it. It holds us accountable. We meet other people along the way who also hold us accountable. And I would tell them to just look at the evidence and show that this really does work.
Wow. Well, you've sold me on it. I'm going to sign up for a horseback riding class, I think, stat. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So great to be here.
And just a reminder, Julia will be holding an author event at Third Place Books in Lake Forest Park at 7 o'clock.